When you first find out that you're going to Romania, you cry because you're sad, like, oh my God, why are they sending me to Romania? And then when you have to leave Romania, you also cry. The number one thing that the US talks about when it comes to Romania, it's always quality. Everything that the team does here is high quality, high value work. You guys are strong on the outsourcing and doing the work, but I think you have so much more potential.
Agree, totally agree.
Yeah. Remember, at the end of the day, as a leader, right, your job is to get the best out of your team.
Yes.
The best possible, right? Most productivity, the best quality, the best innovation, creativity, and so on. And how do you do that as a tech leader? And I think that's something to pay attention to a little bit more than tech, right? Like most you guys, you got the tech, right? We can do many things as a company, but at the end of the day, your career is in your hands, and you're the captain of your ship. Go out and get what you're looking for, you know, and don't. Wait. Don't wait, and you know, don't have excuses. Don't feel like a victim of some company scheme or something, right? Like, your career is in your hands. You do what you need to do to get out of it what you want.
Agree. Hey everyone, today we have Mike Makar, head of MassMutual in Romania. As a guest at CxO Off the Record, a podcast by Cegeka. Salut, Mike! Ce faci?
Salut! Foarte bine.
Cool.
Nice to
be finally meet you face to face. We had quite a lot of chats before, but it's the first time we see each other face to face.
Yeah, so, it's a pleasure to meet you face to face, Lucian.
Thanks a lot.
You say Lucian or Luci?
Lucian. Like Luciano Pavarotti, but yeah.
Okay.
Lucian.
Okay. Yeah. You look very Italian, by the way. You could be Italian.
Okay.
I think too. Well, I say that a lot about Romania.
If I go to Greece, everybody says I'm Greek, but if I go to Italy, everybody says I'm Italian. So yeah.
Okay. All right. That makes sense.
Cool. Mike, thanks a lot for joining CxO Off the Record. It's a podcast by Cegeka, and it's a platform meant for leaders in technology to come and share from their own experiences, give some advice for the new generation. So it's sharing knowledge and experiences to everybody.
Thrilled to be here.
Yeah, thanks a lot for coming and joining us. For sure, I've done a bit of research on yourself, and since started to talk to you, it was like a couple of years ago when you were introduced by Bill Cunningham to me.
Oh yeah.
It was
I think we did meet.
2 years ago.
We did meet through Bill, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was 2 years ago that we started to talk, and I've seen that you have an impressive and extensive career, starting from hands-on technical engineer to senior leadership roles in different companies, from startups to large and established organizations. Who is Mike Makar outside of business hours? And what hobbies do you have? How do you unwind after a busy day at work?
Okay, well, there's a lot there, right? Let's see how quickly I can get through my history, right? No, thank you, Lucian. Mike Makar. I am from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania originally. Something I don't talk about much because I've lived in so many places in the U.S. now at this point, mostly on the East Coast. I was in Washington, D.C. For about 14 years before I moved down to Miami, Florida. Actually, while I was over here, I don't know why I did that. Okay, of course I know why I did it. It was related to income taxes, but it's not a secret. But Miami is lovely too. I love the palm trees and the beaches, and I think now that I've gotten a little older, I appreciate those quiet, calm kind of walks on the beaches with the swaying palm trees. It's incredibly relaxing. So I've been here in Romania actually for 3 years now as an expat. Absolutely love it. It's one of those things. This is my first sort of stint outside the United States as a official expat. I worked for the World Bank for many years, and while I did some traveling there was no, like, a lot of the folks there do a lot of missions work, and they spend time in other countries for an extended period of time and things like that. But this is my first time actually living outside the country, and my expectations in the beginning, and it's usually what everybody says about Romania. Like, I really didn't have any expectations, but now that I'm here, I'm blown away because it's such a cool place and great people. So to some of the things you said, I started my career a long time ago now in the tech. I studied business and technology and computer science. I did a lot of development work early on in my career, but probably around the time I was 30, I really, felt that I had strong leadership abilities, communication abilities was something that I really thought a lot about in terms of, hey, I think I have a skill here, a talent here. I was president of a Toastmasters club for,
that's interesting.
I think like 2 years. I think I was in it in total 4 years, which is great because at the time I had the time to do it. Now I would never have the time to do it. So, I always encourage people, like if you have some time, like if you have lunches available, participate in Toastmasters Club because then you get, it's a great community thing as well, and you get to kind of practice your public speaking and all that. I spent many years coding and doing sort of web application development. Python scripting was a big thing for me and sort of, took me into leading teams and managing teams. And, here I am now. We have I'm managing MassMutual Romania here locally. We have offices in Bucharest and Cluj, and we have quite a presence here. And it's been quite a journey through the pandemic to where we are today.
So, Mike, I was asking about your hobbies. How do you unwind after a busy day in Romania, because you are settled in Bucharest?
Okay, yeah. So I don't have as many hobbies as I would like to at this juncture. Let me put it that way. Especially over the past couple years being here, I joke about Romanian, right? I've been here 3 years, and okay, I speak a little tiny sliver, right? But I'm trying to get there. I'm trying to, if anybody from the cafes are listening to me, let me speak in Romanian. Don't switch to English, But I love to travel. So any chance I get, I've been traveling, as much as I could my entire adult life at this point, especially being here in Europe. There's so many places to go. Like in the U.S., obviously a big, beautiful country. But generally, there's a lot more to do in the cities on the coasts. Do you know what I mean? Not like to discourage some of the other, there's a lot of beautiful places in the U.S., national parks and all that. But here in Europe, it's like you're a 1-2 hour flight away from all these amazing cities, very historic, right? Like we talk about history, right? Europe has history. So in my time here, especially during my first year, where it actually kind of worked out a little bit for me, where I didn't have my residence permit because everything was backed up in the state, and I got a chance to travel to Greece, Poland, Serbia, Italy, Spain, Portugal, and Hungary. I think I also made it to.
Pretty much half Europe, yeah.
Yeah, I spent some. Poland was a great experience. So yeah. Okay. So that I did cover a lot in that first year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks. Who have been your biggest influences or mentors across your career, and what have you learned from them?
Yeah, I've had many. I've been fortunate to have many really great mentors, managers. And I would say over the years, some of the things that I've really picked up that have really helped shape me too as a manager are things really related to the open trust, right? And this is where you can see what works well, what doesn't with a team. Nobody wants to be micromanaged, right? And okay, maybe the micromanagement lesson I learned from some of the managers that were not so good, which I've had way more than I would like to admit. Trusting your people, open collaboration, and a sense of urgency, right? This is something that, it's easy to say, right? Like, hey, you should, if I tell you to do something, like, you do it now, right? Don't wait until next week and then get back to me, right? Like the real drilling in that sort of sense of urgency is something so important, and something that I think no matter what you do, you should have that in your mind, because that's also going to help you do your best job. And advice for anyone would be, even if you're not so happy in the job, do your best. And okay, if it doesn't work out, you need to leave, but don't sit around and waste your time.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
So.
You first traveled to Romania in 2019, right?
Yes, that's right.
And then you established the Bucharest hub in 2020, the Cluj hub in 2021. Both of them full pandemic, fully remote.
Yep.
What challenges did you face in setting up, scaling up, and building technology centers from scratch, fully remote?
Yeah, so of course, came over here 2019, had no idea what was ahead of us in terms of the pandemic. You know, building a company remotely has a ton of different challenges, especially in that situation where, you know, even building out the offices, factories were shutting down in the US and Europe trying to get goods around. We had to ship goods from the UK by truck, you know. There were all kinds of different challenges in the setup phase, but hiring everybody remotely, I mean, it was a year before I could come over to Romania. We had about 100 people here by the time I came over. And then seeing people for the first time was like, man, I can't believe this, right? Like we've been working together for a year now, and I'm just seeing you for the first time. And it's like, wow, right? I feel like we know each other, but we don't know each other. And for me, really connecting to the team here during that time was incredibly important. And I feel like things changed a lot once I was able to actually come over here and be with the team and get to know people personally and, you know, build from there.
Yep.
Because for 15 months stuck, you know, in the US while we're recruiting here, while we're trying to, you know, plug in folks to projects, get to know projects and skills and things like that people need, was incredibly challenging.
Yep.
Yeah.
Why did you choose Romania, and what was the process behind of selecting Bucharest and Cluj in the detriment of other potential locations across Europe or Asia?
Good question. Yeah. So I was hired 5 years ago at MassMutual to stand up a center in Eastern Central Europe somewhere, right?
Okay.
We knew it was going to be in this region. In parallel, we stood up a company in India. My colleague Ravi works on that, and he built that company there. But we came over here in 2019. A lot of the research that we did, we were looking for a country that has a science and technology. Obviously, this came out of the IT organization in the U.S. So we came over here looking for a country that has great skills in science and technology, a safe place to do business, great English skills, good internet bandwidth, right? I mean, you have to have that, especially especially with regards to you know, being able to do remote work, and that actually just worked out for us, right, with the pandemic and everything, and a country that has a great fit with American culture. And I think when you narrow it down, for us, it came down to Romania and Bulgaria. So we visited Bucharest, Cluj, we went to Sofia in Bulgaria. And it had to be a country with a large enough market to do what we needed to do in terms of the IT work. Exactly, for scaling up. And I mean, we came with a little group, and we unanimously chose Romania. I mean, I think that we were leaning towards Romania in general, and it was a great fit. Now, a question's come up to me before, like, hey, you know, you decided to put an office in Cluj as well, right? Like, why didn't you just put an office in Bucharest? And when we visited Cluj, we fell in love with Cluj, right? I mean, we talked about that before. And it's just a very charming city, great people, just a lovely place all around, and really an IT market, right? Sort of like the Silicon Valley of Eastern Central Europe. So really, you could feel technology and the culture there, and it was like, this is a great place to be too. We also wanted to look like a national brand in Romania. To, you know, hey, we're not just here for a little while and putting a small office in. We're betting on Romania for the future. And, you know, this was a great decision.
Okay. What key lessons from your professional experience in the US have you implemented at MassMutual in Romania?
Well, I think sometimes, you know, and I feel this way with maybe Romanian managers, you know, there's a bit of a trust issue with being able to, you know, trust the people or trust the people who are telling you the truth and things like that. So I think, you know, open communication and trust, and then also demanding feedback. I tell everybody on the team, you know, look, you know, please give us your feedback whether we're doing the right or wrong. You know, don't sugarcoat things, which I don't have to worry about in Romania because people do not sugarcoat
yes,
things.
Of course.
People don't sugarcoat things, right? So it's, really those types of things that I've seen from my past, because I see what works well and what doesn't work well. And I think, as an American manager, I think those traits resonate very well with the people here. And I think, it's easy to say, right? Like, hey, don't micromanage somebody, right? And hey, trust your people, maybe be optimistic instead of pessimistic, right?
Okay.
Those are easy things to say, but I think in practice, maybe it's a little difficult sometimes without that experience,
I've been in similar situations in delivery centers, especially in cost centers in Romania, and I had my own challenges, but I wanted to see your take on this. How do you foster collaboration and innovation, especially in a delivery center and in an industry which is perceived more traditional versus like a high-tech product company?
So more on the innovation and how do we foster innovation?
Yep.
Yeah. Well, so for us in Romania, we pride ourselves on being a product company. What was very important to me is that the people here feel that they are MassMutual employees in Romania, not outsourcing or not a shared service center or something like that. So that's sort of step one, is making sure that the team feels connected to the US, that they feel like they're part of the product company. And this is what I hear a lot, is that folks they joined us because they didn't want to be part of outsourcing, or they joined us because they want to be closer to the clients and closer to the problems and closer to the products. So I think right off the bat, we sort of drew the line and said, well, look, this is for sure what people want, and this is where you get the most value out of the team members here. And I think that was a great decision. And I think as we've sort of navigated the ship, this has resonated very well with people, and it's a win-win on both sides. Mm-hmm. I think in this remote world, it's very hard to get people together, and I think people coming together work best, and that's where you're going to get that true innovation and creativity, and I think it's totally fine to work remotely and be able to spend most of your time coding and doing the work without distractions. I think bringing people together is incredibly important for that creativity, and I always say we're better together, So we try to do things like, especially over the past couple of years with the pandemic and the remote work, different types of team building events to get people to come together, especially for our employees that are not in Bucharest and Cluj. We always have US visitors, so when those managers come here, we bring their teams together and make sure they get to spend time together. We've done things like open door events where we showcase some of our projects, not going into the details, but like high level what the projects do and the story behind them. And I think that resonates very well with people and gives people a lot of good ideas and get people having the conversation about the projects and how people went about solving the problems and the challenges that they faced. Okay. So, cool. We look forward to doing more of that kind of stuff.
Cool. How do you envision the role of a tech leader evolving in the next years?
Well, I think a tech leader was already pretty focused on technology and the latest and greatest tech, so I don't have to spend much time there. But I think now it's, technology has changed rapidly, especially over the course of my career, and I think it keeps changing more rapidly by the year. How do you embrace things like AI, right? Okay. Because this is, with the technology that we currently see, this is going to make a very big impact on the world. And I think as a tech leader, your role is to embrace it and figure out how best to use it and make sure your team's productive and creative and innovative and all those things. So I think that's something to pay close attention to. And then, it's really going to be about people too, right? Like, how do you get the best out of your team, and how do you manage well, mm-hmm. So I think a lot of times folks get too caught up in the technical aspects, but then maybe lose a little bit of those soft skills. Because remember, at the end of the day, as a leader, right, your job is to get the best out of your team.
Yes.
the best possible, right? Most productivity, the best quality, the best innovation, creativity, and so on. And how do you do that as a tech leader? And I think that's something to pay attention to a little bit more than tech, right? Like most you guys, you got the tech, right?
We were talking about artificial intelligence, AI in general. What's your take on that? Should we be afraid of it? Should we embrace it? How do you see the impact, I don't know, in the tech jobs market or in the workforce in the future?
Yeah, so again, I'm going to say this is my personal opinions on this, right? But I think without a doubt, we should embrace it. I don't think this is something to be afraid of at all. And of course, I see the robots being made, while I think every new great technology is a disruptor, I think this is no different than that. I mean, the world, we changed just as the internet changed everybody's life in the late 90s, right? I think what you see a big hype cycle, like what we saw in the .com sort of bust. I think maybe you see that here as well, but that's part of the cycle of innovation. And I think what we have now, the start of this AI revolution, let's say, is something really big. And I think everybody should embrace it, and everybody should at least familiarize yourself with what its capabilities are and how to use it. And for me, I'm incredibly excited about the productivity gains and the efficiency gains. And as a company, right? Like if you're doing work for a company, the first thing that I'm thinking of is how can we increase revenue and make things more efficient to be able to lower costs? And I think without a doubt, AI has a huge potential for finding new revenue streams, helping to improve the customer experience. And I think, without a doubt, this is something that I think is the start of something big.
Exactly. And from my perspective, it kind of creates new opportunities for creative people because it allows us more time for creativity and getting rid of routine tasks.
Yes,
and
exactly.
It gives more opportunity.
Exactly. It just gives more opportunity. Yeah. That's a great way to put it.
Yeah. You were mentioning about you as a technology leader, you are trying to get the best out of your team and find the balance between the technical skills, the soft skills. What new skill set do you think will be crucial for tech professionals or engineers in the coming years?
I think AI, right? Like being closer to that and really diving into what capabilities you can sort of derive from artificial intelligence and its capabilities today, right? And where it's going, right? And how to sort of predict the future there. We're going to use AI to be more productive. So especially for developers, this should just only increase the productivity, right?
Exactly.
So embrace it, learn it, and use it to increase your productivity. Technical skills were never an issue. Technical skills were never an issue, right? Training, we have the internet and AI now to, where it's kind of like you have your own professor at home, right? So I think that's incredibly powerful, and I think this is what folks need to pay attention to in terms of productivity. But the remote work is a great thing, but I think it can make you a little bit more complacent and a little bit more in your comfort zone. This is advice for anybody, not just technical people, but like do things to get out of your comfort zone, right? If you're uncomfortable talking to people, you want to be talking to people, right? The pandemic and the IT boom that sort of followed during the pandemic, I think it gave people sort of a way to kind of step back a little bit and be in their comfort zone and not, just assume things were going to come to you, like jobs were coming to you, money was coming to you. That's a little different today, right? And, we expect things to continue to evolve and to change, So I think the people that are going to have the brightest careers are the ones that also want to be with their teams, to lead the teams, to be large contributors to the teams. And this is where, sense of urgency and hard work always comes into play. But you don't want to be the person that's kind of in the shadows, just kind of chilling out with your Teams or your Zoom icon, your pictures off. And, I think we have a little too much of that today. So, doing things that are uncomfortable, being around people, finding a good mentor, right, to help drive your career in the right direction, right? Because I think it's going to be too easy now going forward to kind of, sift backwards.
Mm-hmm. I was mentioning the first question was about your extensive career, starting from hands-on engineering roles to senior leadership roles, like running big teams.
Mm-hmm.
What were your challenges in moving from hands-on engineering to senior leadership roles? Like in your career journey, how did you see this transition, and what were your challenges?
Yeah, I think this question comes up a lot too with people on the team. I think the hardest thing is, when do you decide to let go of the technical realm and pursue leadership or management or whatever. And I think, like I said, that was probably for me around 30 years old, where I said, all right, well, look, I want to stay involved in the technical aspects of it. I love the technology. I love solving problems. I love the critical thinking there. But also I have all these other skills too that I think I can probably be a little better at. And I think for every person, it's how do you make that decision of, hey, when do I sort of let go and put all my eggs into one basket? Yeah. So for me, that was probably the hardest transition. But also you have to get used to delegating, because I think when you're doing the work, you're like, no, I can do it.
And you control everything?
Yeah. You control everything. No, I can do it. Like, don't worry about it, Joe, right? Like I'll get back to you with something else, Yeah. So for me, that was probably the pivot there down the path of management. But yeah.
Similar experience, because I started as a Java developer, hands-on coder, and it's so difficult to let go the technology part.
You love it.
Yeah, you love it, right? And you control the output, and you have everything under control. But
plus you also realize, like, hey, I'm not going to be so good in this stuff if I let it go, And this is kind of my bread and butter now, right? And now it's uncertain of the way things are going to go in the future, right? Because technology for us tech guys, right, and ladies, right, it's like natural, right? You love it. You're in the weeds. You constantly want to learn new things. You're constantly exploring different technologies and different ways to do things, and it's very exciting. And things are changing rapidly, so it's never boring, right? So you have to be okay to say, okay, well, I'm not going to do that as much anymore. I got to focus on these other areas, right? And that's a very big deal, especially especially. Yeah.
And you were mentioning in previous questions about mentorship, and I believe you need to have a bit of luck to have the right mentorship and the right organizations to seize the opportunity of moving away from technology to leadership roles.
Yeah.
It's a combination of factors there.
Yeah, and remember too, right? Like, your career is up to you to go get what you want out of it. I see too often where people are saying, like, okay, well, you're not giving me a mentor. Well, look, we can do many things as a company, but at the end of the day, your career is in your hands, and you're the captain of your ship. So go out and get what you're looking for, and don't, wait. Don't wait, and don't have excuses. Don't feel like a victim of some company scheme or something, right? Like, your career is in your hands. You do what you need to do to get out of it what you want.
Agreed. Cool. Mike, you started to build MassMutual in Romania during the COVID pandemic, right? And then decided to move to Romania 3 years ago.
That's right.
What were the biggest cultural adjustments you have to take when moving from the US to Romania and settle in Bucharest?
Good question. People always ask me that too, and you never know what you're going to expect going to a new place. I had a pretty good idea that I would like it here and like the people here, and of course I didn't spend much time here before, but for me, and people always ask me too, like, hey, Mike, what do you miss from the US? Like, when the Americans come over here to visit, what do you miss from the US? And usually I say on what I miss, it's aside from friends and family, of course, buffalo wings, So we have this Buffalo Wild Wings in the U.S. That's awesome. It has like all these like 25 different sauces. So I miss the Buffalo Wings. I do go to Hard Rock Cafe though when I need my fix.
Okay.
And you know, maybe burgers. You know, I think you guys really, you're a pork-centric country, but you also love beef. I can tell.
Yeah.
But I think it's hit or miss on if you get a good burger or not. So burgers, like in the U.S., I think you know this. There's tons of burger joints, and you know, you name it, you can get a good burger at any time. But also, I've been introduced to the shawarma here. So the shawarma here is not something that I mean, I think in New York you can get shawarma, or I think we call it kebabs maybe, or something like that. But here I was introduced to shawarma, so that's been a good added in place of the burgers, and maybe it's equal unhealthiness. But no, my expectations coming to Romania, I said this before, you know, I didn't know what to expect, but you know, largely in 3 years here, I've been blown away. You know, I've really just felt connected to the Romanian people. I feel quasi-Romanian now, even though my Romanian is not so good. And I think it's just, you know, the people I feel are very kind, very welcome and open, and they treat everybody well and everybody with respect, especially foreigners, you know? I think, okay, I miss maybe some of the jokes and stuff you tell, right? Because, you know, I don't pick up the Romanian yet, but, you know, I mean, I'm impressed at how kind you guys are to foreigners from all over the world, right? Like you really are proud of the country, you're proud of the people, your culture, and you want to show the best of your country. And I think that resonates really well with everybody that visits here. So for me, it hasn't been a very difficult transition. And if anything, I just fell more in love with the country. So.
Okay. That's nice to hear. And in the last 3 years, you've been present in Romania in both Cluj and Bucharest. You are now well connected to the Romanian IT ecosystem. You have your professional network in here. I've seen you talking to different tech conferences, so you are quite present in the Romanian IT market. How do you think the Romanian IT needs to change so that it adds more value and continues to grow like it used to grow, especially with the increasing cost in the last couple of years in the IT market?
Great question, and I think this is something that's on a lot of folks' minds now. Where does Romania go from here, right? I think you guys don't give yourself enough credit, if you want my opinion, because as Romania has been really strong on outsourcing, and you have tons of outsourcing companies, you have tons of American companies doing outsourcing here. I think you guys aren't ready to take some of those risks to sort of be that where the startups are, right? I've been to a few sort of these startup ecosystem things. They're really great, but I think where Romania goes from here is not just outsourcing, but product development, ownership. And I get the sense that you guys feel a little bit of the fear to take the risk, right?
Yeah.
Like in the US, it's a risk-taking culture.
And it's more entrepreneurial.
And it's more entrepreneurial, yeah. But you guys have it in you to do it. I think it's more of how do you take that leap and not just, you know, I think a lot of people, you want that steady job, you want that steady paycheck, you feel comfortable with that. And I think that the time has come to look at building your own companies here, right? You have a few very good success stories already here in Romania.
Yeah, you have UiPath, you have
exactly
right now.
Exactly right. And I think it's getting you connected into even the US with venture capital, because, you know, for sure it's not a secret how expensive it is to do development work in the United States, but for product development, you look at California maybe a little bit different, 10 hours ahead, 10 hours behind here, 10 hours ahead from there, but the East Coast, 7 hours ahead. And you have a full, like half a day overlap with the folks on the East Coast. So it's perfect to do product development and build teams and stand up teams here and have enough time in the morning to have your huddles and your one-on-ones and your sessions and things like that. So I think this is where the value is in Romania, but I don't think you realize it yet.
I believe we need more people like you to open the eyes of the people or leaders in the Romanian tech market?
I have no doubt that you'll have more of Americans coming over here, especially in the future, especially as these ecosystems and these startups start really blossoming here. Because I've already seen some of it, and I think, you're at that sort of that pivotal moment in time where, now it's a great opportunity here. And I feel very optimistic about the future here of the tech industry in Romania.
I agree. If I am to put my personal take on the Romanian IT market, it used to be a lot of outsourcing. It was a comfort zone. Everybody kind of got a lot of money, decent money, and everybody is now in the comfort zone of waiting for the paycheck, as you said.
Exactly.
But what's next? Because from cost perspective, Romania is on par with other countries like Poland, Spain, Italy, Greece.
It's getting there.
Yeah, it's getting there. And what's the value add that you put on the table so that you still be competitive and have a differentiator, a different value proposition?
No, you guys have it in you, and I think the time is now to kind of start thinking about how you move in that direction. Because the number one thing that the U.S. talks about when it comes to Romania, it's always quality. Everything that the team does here is high quality, high value work, and I think it's great that you guys are strong on the outsourcing and doing the work, but I think you have so much more potential.
Agree, totally agree.
Yeah.
Cool. Mike, let's go a bit softer on the Romanian country. I'm a big fan of the French writer Frédéric Becbédère, who wrote a book in Romanian it's called Dragostea durează 3 ani. I believe you got it already because you know Romanian. But in English it's called Love Lasts 3 Years. And you've been in Romania for the last 3 years.
Yeah.
And what's your relationship with Romania? Do you still find it fun? Do you still find it engaging, or you just got bored and you want to get out?
Oh my God, no. I heard this the first time I came over to Romania. I think maybe Bill Cunningham told me about it. He said that, when you first find out that you're going to Romania, you cry because you're sad. Like, oh my God, why are they sending me to Romania? And then when you have to leave Romania, you also cry because you love the place and you're sad, And like I laughed about it when he said that. Other people heard that too. But for me, that resonates very well true because I didn't cry coming into Romania, so I can't say that. But for sure, I think if I had to leave, I would have a tear in my eye. It's a great place, great country, wonderful people, and people always ask me, Mike, what do you like most about Romania? Right?
Yeah.
The Romanians ask me that, and I say the people. Obviously, you have a beautiful country. You have the Carpathians, you have the Danube Delta, these beautiful rolling hills that kind of remind me a little bit of Pennsylvania sometimes. But it's the people here, just like any place. What makes a place great? It's the people, and I really feel that the Romanian people are very kind and warm and welcoming and have good hearts. I can feel that, I always, maybe I take Uber or Bolt or to work, and I've been doing this for 3 years, and it's the driver's like, oh, where are you from? Oh, I'm from the U.S. Oh, America. I love America, and I always get, this happens to me all the time, and I always get that chuckle, like, oh, wow. They're like, oh, you like it here in Romania? Oh, I love it here in Romania. Oh, really? Like, where are you from in the U.S.? Oh, I live in Miami. Why are you here?
Exactly. That's the question.
People they can't understand why I'm here. It's like, for me, it's just like, it's a no-brainer. Like, it's a fantastic place. So, okay, food-wise, maybe I don't eat as much Romanian traditional. I've had the Somali. Everybody keeps promising me the Meech barbecues, which I've had Meech. Meech, but I haven't been to a barbecue. Like in the U.S., we barbecue burgers and hot dogs and all that stuff, but I need to go to one of these Meech barbecues. Otherwise, like food-wise, it's an international scene here, right? Like you have great restaurants.
We have our own specific, but it's an international cuisine.
Plus the coffee, right? Like I don't want to kind of, let's say give a shot at the U.S. coffee industry.
The Americano.
Yeah, Americano. But the coffee here is awesome, right? You have all these great cafes. drink the flat whites, now pretty regularly, and the coffee's fantastic. I'm a big coffee drinker myself. I stay heavily caffeinated, and the coffee's just fantastic. And and you guys are also, the Romanians are very social, right? I'm a very extroverted person, so being connected here, there's an energy level here that is quite high, and you feel it. You don't feel like dozing off. Like this is not the place for that. This is a kind of a high energy place, and a lot of high energy people, and a lot of good vibes.
You just sold Romania for some other tech investors from the US.
Yeah, maybe.
Mike, thanks a lot for joining us. It was a pleasure to have you here. It was a fun conversation, very relaxed, and just thanks a lot.
Pleasure. Thank you so much for having me, Lucian, and maybe next time we'll do a little bit more in Romanian, yeah?
Of course. Cool.
Appreciate it.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much.